Everyone, I am Optimus76X, and today I'm going to teach you how to create a character in Dungeons & Dragons. Today, I will be showing you how to do this using the 3.5 edition. And a lot of this goes pretty straightforward for all the editions, so let's get started. What you're going to need is some dice, a character sheet, and of course the player's handbook. So the first thing you have to do is you have to roll your stats. Now there's a bunch of different ways that you roll your stats. The most classic way of doing this is most classic way of doing this is by rolling 3d6 in order. So what you do is take 3 6-sided dice, and you roll them in order. And what I mean by stats is I mean this column right here. Your strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. So you take the 3d6 and you roll that, and whatever you get is what you take. So I got a 12 for my first stat, which is my strength. And I would go along down the line, and you know, my next stat is 8. So I have an 8 dexterity. Not looking too great for my character, but that's the oldest way to do it. That's not how you have to do it though. Sometimes, actually a lot of times, and I think this is the most popular way to do it these days, is to actually take 4d6. So now take 4d6, and you roll them, and you drop the lowest number. So I got 4, 7. I got 9. I'm going to drop this 1. So that's how you do that. Now the difference between this is you don't actually have to locate it right down the line. So I got a 9, and what I'll do is I'll write that on the side of my sheet. So I'll write it like right up here, and then I'll just jot that down the line. So what do I get for my next stat? I got 10. So got a 9 and a 10. And whatever. So that's how you would do that. And you start going down the line. And then once you get all those, so I'll just roll them up really quick here. Really quick. At 10. My character is looking pretty lame so far. And another 12. Got 13. This character is looking pretty weak. So whatever. It doesn't matter. I'll just go down the line, and I'll make up the stats later. It doesn't matter. You don't want to do that, obviously, when you're playing the game. But for the sake of this, I'm just going to write 3 15s and 3 13s down, which is another way you can do it. It's a pretty lame way of doing it, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do that just for the sake of making this video. But that's how you would do it. You just roll down your stats, or write down your stats, and I would put them right here, or you can do it on the back of the sheet, wherever. It doesn't matter. So that's that. Now you have to pick your race. Now, this is usually pretty fun. So the races are as... Let me see if I can... There you go. These are all the races you can pick from in Dungeons & Dragons. So you got your humans, your halflings, gnomes, half-orcs, half-elves, dwarves, and elves. So, what is that, like 6? Got like 6 races to pick from. And this really adds a lot to your character. Not just from, aesthetic appearances, whatever kind of miniature you might want to use, like these guys here, Oops, there we go. So, the other thing that this adds are your traits on your character. I'm going to pick a human because I really like to make humans. I like playing humans. I almost always pick a human no matter what kind of game I'm playing. If it's a like a single player RPG, like on like a video game, I usually always pick humans, or elves or half elves. Generally, stay away from the gnomes and the halflings and the dwarves, mostly because I don't like horrendously short creatures. I don't even really like short people that much, but whatever. Elves are actually pretty short in this game. And other versions of the game, like Pathfinder, they're actually quite tall. They're like 6'5" or so. But I'm going to pick a human. So, what you get for picking your race is, it tells you what the personality is and, what kind of religion and what kind of alignments they are, what the kind of traits they have. And basically for humans, that's pretty much anything goes. They get whatever. If you pick something like a half-orc, or we'll just use a dwarf, for example, that does affect your stats as long as well with a whole lot of other things, like your, I believe your charisma goes down by 2, but your constitution goes up by 2, all sorts of stuff like that, which is pretty cool. But if this is your first character, let's just pick a human, because they're pretty straightforward, and there's not a whole lot of worry, there's not a whole lot you have to think about. Basically, with a human, they get an extra feat at first level, and they get an extra 4 skill points at first level, an extra skill point per level. When it comes to their languages, I mean, everybody speaks Common, and they can pretty much pick any other bonus languages that they would want, because they're humans. So in any case, we'll do that. So I get an extra 4 skill points at first level. These are skill points, and your feats can go on, they go right here. These are your feats section. So I'm going to pick human. Now you have to pick your class. Let's say you roll pretty decent on your stats. Let's say I'm going to use the 3 15s, 3 13s just as a base. I wouldn't recommend doing this. This is only viable. I mean, rolling your stats is all determined on what your DM wants. Just for the sake of this video, because I was rolling really poorly, I don't think I would have been able to take the feats I wanted to use in this video, which is why I'm taking 3 13s and 3 15s. So I'm going to pick, for my class, I want to pick a fighter, because it's my first character I've ever made, right? Let's just act like it's my first character. And while there are more basic classes, like the Barbarian, or the Ranger is even kind of a basic class, I'm just going to go with the fighter, because I think he's the most basic class that anybody can pick up and play. So, when you're picking your class, you get this little chart, and every class has this chart. It's not really coming in so well. This chart right here. And what this tells me is my base attack bonus per level, like what level I am, when I get these levels. So it'll tell me my base level, my base attack bonus, my saves, my base saves, and what special qualities I get per level. And the reason why fighters are so simple is because all they get per level are feats. And every class gets feats. Fighters get more. They get like triple, but than most other classes. But that's all you have to worry about. You have to worry about any spells or any sort of special features, what kind of what-if statements, because a lot of classes play around with like basically what-if statements. For example, a ranger, if you're fighting your favorite enemy, you get this bonus to your damage, you get this bonus to your skill checks and whatnot. Not saying that there aren't feats that are basically what-if statements, and the 2 feats I'm going to pick out are going to be, well, actually all my feats I'm going to pick out are basically going to be what-if statements, but they're pretty easy what-if statements. So, in any case, you would write that down. You start with your base attack bonus, which goes in this box here, which is 1 for a fighter. So, let me put that right there. It's 1. Okay? Oh, oops, I wasn't pointing at it. Right there. See? So, put that there. And then their saves are pretty crap, so My base save for my fortitude is going to be a 2, and then I get a 0 and a 0. And I forgot to put in my stats on my sheet, but I'm going to put down 3 15s and 3 13s, which makes your character really well balanced, but I mean, doing this is only viable if your DM allows it. So I'm going to do my 3 stats as strength, dexterity, and constitution for my 3 15s, and the other 3 are going to be 13s, because they're not really that important. So, when it comes to these ability modifiers, which is something that you have to look for in more towards the front of the book, basically what you have to think about is for every 2 numbers above the number 10, like let's say strength is the 10, that's a 0 for the modifier, which is right here. Modifier. Ability modifier, it says right here, the second column. Let me get a little bit closer. Right there. So I have a 15, which gives me a +2 my ability modifier. So it goes 10 to 12. 10 and 11 are a 0. 12 and 13 is a 1. 14 and 15 is a +2. 16, 17, etc. So we get 2. So with these stats, this is what it looks like. See what I mean? 15 is a 2, 13 is a 1. It's something that it'll take a little bit to get a hold of, but it shouldn't take you too long to understand this. So, because of that, now I can fill out the rest of my my saves. So, my ability modifier, it gives you a little math equation here for filling out your stats. So my ability modifier for my fortitude is a 2. So therefore my total fortitude save is a 4. So when it comes to rolling a save, I would roll d20 and add 4 to it. So then my reflex save is 2 and my will save is 1. So, oops, 1 second. I'll show you here. And that's what my saves would end up looking like. Hope you can read that. Alright. We got that out of the way. Now, of course you'll need dice, but that's mostly for playing. If you're obviously a player character, you're going to need a set of dice, at least 1. And hopefully your friends will have more, but you need at least 1 set of dice. And there's going to be, I want to say there's 8 in a set, but I'm not 100% sure. I think it's 8. But yeah. So anyway, we'll fill out the rest of this. Strength 2, 1, 3. So your grapple, all that good stuff. Whatever, doesn't matter. So now I want to pick out my feats and my skills. So we'll start with the feats. With a fighter, pretty basic standard stuff is you're going to want to take weapon focus for whatever your chosen weapon is, and that basically is like, I want to use claymore, so I'll use great swords or whatever, or maybe you really like axes, pick an axe, whatever, it doesn't matter. Take weapon focus, it gives you a +1 on your attack rolls whenever your guy's swinging his axe or a sword or whatever. Then I'll take power attack, and I will also take combat expertise. So I go over to the feats, and you don't have to take these. These are just what I would take if I was making a fighter. These are pretty standard, you know. And because I'm a human, I get 3. If I was like a dwarf, I would only get 2. In which case, I would probably take weapon focus and power attack. Power attack is like a must on any fighter. So we'll take that. Weapon focus. And you have to pick the weapon. So I'll say great sword. So, and then we'll take power attack and combat expertise. So under the feats section, that's what I would do. So right there. And of course, I mean, I'm abbreviating it. Some players like to write down descriptions of what the feats are on the back or their skills. I mean, you can do that, or you can like just like if there's something that I don't know by heart, I'll just write like the page number of where I found the feat or the skill, and that's what I'll do. Special abilities. Humans don't really get any special abilities, and fighters don't get any special abilities, so I don't have to worry about that. But what I do have to worry about are the skills that I get. And every class gets their own special skills, so they're right here in this section. And with a human, you get an extra 4 skill points per level. And in 3.5, you can have 4 skill points above your current, or 3 skill points above your current level. So at level 1, I can have 4 skill points in any abilities, which are any of these skills, which would be climb, craft, handle animal, intimidate, jump, ride, and swim. So I don't really have that many, and they can only get 2 skill points plus my intelligence. So I only get 3. I get 4 skill points per level. And at first level, I get 8, 12, 13, 14, 15. I get 16 skill points. So actually, it's a pretty skillful fighter. I would recommend taking the skill points and putting them into the climb and jumping and all the physical stuff. And if you really like, if you really want like a mount or whatever, then I would recommend putting in a handle animal and ride. So there's that. At first level, every character, no matter what class you are, gets your full hit dice and constitution for your first level. So a fighter, and this is, it'll say right here, so, I don't know if you can read that, right there, a D10 for hit points. So that's 10 at max. You get the max. So 10 plus my constitution modifier, which is a +2 because I have a 15 constitution. So at first level, I get 12 hit points. Not bad. Especially compared to a wizard, which would only get a D4. So I get 12 hit points. So let's say that the wizard gets a 4-sided dice, so 4 at max, and let's say he probably only has like a 1 or a 2 in his constitution if he's lucky. Cool, you got 6 hit points. Like if he had more constitution, you know, look, if he has as much constitution as you, he still has half the hit points. So it sucks for him, right? So that's that. Your grapple, relatively important. So you would do the what's that? Ability modifier plus your base attack bonus, and then that's your total. If you have any like special like feats or anything, like maybe you're a grappler or something, then you would add that to it if you have the feats, which would probably be like a +4 if you have the feats. Or if you're a really big like creature, which you're not going to be that, you're going to be like a human or a half-orc, which you don't get any bonuses to that. But the one thing about being a human is our speed. Basically, think of it this way. If you have long legs, you move 30 feet, and if you have short, stubby legs, you move 20 feet. So with a human, we move 30 feet. However, that can drop depending on what kind of armor we take, which is what we're going to get into next, is our gear. Now, every class in this book gets a starting package, which, for the sake of this, I'm going to actually use. So my weapons are going to be a greatsword and a short bow, which is really good. So what I would do is, I'd write that in here, and my weapon focus is a greatsword anyway, so that's perfect. It would be kind of silly to be a fighter and start with a weapon that isn't your weapon focus, just saying. So anyway, G sword, just abbreviate it. So to figure out what your attack bonus is, you add your strength plus your ability modifier off of your strength plus your base attack bonus and plus any other special qualities you get. I have weapon focus, so I get a +4 on my attack bonus, which is right where I'm going to write that right there. Okay. Now the damage is going to be 2d6 plus, because I'm two-handing the greatsword, I get strength and a half. So with a 2, and you always round down with this, so I'm going to get +3 off of that. So 2d6 plus 3. Critical, I just know this, so 19, 20. So that's what your weapon should look like. Oh, there we go. There you go. Sorry about my handwriting, it's a little sloppy, but that's what it should look like. When it comes to ranged weapons, the only difference that you would make would be changing the strength for your dexterity. So with his bow, he only gets a +2 to his attack rolls, and he doesn't get any strength damage off of that. So it would look like, I'll just write it really quick. Short bow. 2, I believe it's a D6. 6. 3, range. I want to say it's 70 feet. Piercing. I'm pretty sure it's 70 feet. I would have to check in the back of the book to make sure what it is, but I'm just going to go off of what I think I remember it is. I think it's 60 or 70 feet. And I'll say I have 20 arrows. So that's what it would look like for the bow. Oh, there you go. There's that. And then gear. So it says here I have scale mail, which is, oh, cool. It does say how much it weighs. It has a weight of everything. So scale mail is medium armor. It gives me a +4 AC bonus. My max dexterity is, does it say that? Where is it? -4 armor check on elite. Does not say. That's kind of weird. Doesn't say. I'm going to say that the max dexterity bonus of it is like 2, though. So, just so I can, let's double check it. Just to be safe. Let's not cheese this too much. But I do know it weighs like 30 pounds. So, don't want to cheese it too much. Go off of guessing too much here. No, you don't have to take the starting package. You can actually roll up your gold and pick what you want. But scale mail. Oh, hey, cool. Okay, the max dexterity for the scale mail is actually 3. So, all right, cool. This is actually really good for my fighter because my dexterity bonus is 2. So if I had more, this would be pretty good. Okay, armor protection type, scale. Let's rate scale. Check penalty is -4, and spell failure doesn't matter because I'm a fighter. 20 movement speed, weight 30 pounds. So, and type, medium. So, that's that. That's what it would look like. That sheet. So then we take this back over to this sheet, and we just plug it in. The armor bonus is 4. My shield bonus doesn't matter because I don't have a shield. Dexterity is 2. Size modifier is non-factor. No natural armor. Blah blah blah. Doesn't matter. So my dexterity, my AC is 16. See how it looks? There we go. Now, you're also going to have to plug in your other possessions. And this does, like, in the starting package, it does say, like, what you would have, like a bedroll, rations, whatnot. Of course, you're going to want to take more rations, especially if your DM is really into that. And you're going to have to plug in all the weight right, oh, here we go, right there, just to make sure that you get all the proper stuff. And depending on what your actual strength is, depends on how much you can carry and lift and all that stuff. So that's that. Now, of course, you can always go and roll up and actually pick and choose what you want. I would actually recommend taking one more weapon, like a mace or a Morning Star or something. Probably a Morning Star, because then you get piercing and bludgeoning damage off of that. And that's really helpful, because sometimes you'll run into a monster that is strong versus slashing damage, meaning like if you're fighting a skeleton, maybe not a skeleton. Let's say if your character used a rapier and you came across a skeleton, or a zombie even, and you're trying to use a rapier on a skeleton, I mean, does that seem like it's going to be effective? No. In the game, skeletons are weak versus bludgeoning damage. So using a rapier it's already getting like -5 off of your damage off of a D6 weapon. So let's say you only had like a 12 strength and you rolled like a 3, so you rolled medium damage. You're not doing any damage to the skeleton with a rapier. That's why it's a good idea sometimes to carry like a Morningstar or something. And basically every class can carry a Morningstar because they're simple weapons. It's basically just like a club. So that's what I would recommend. Something like a Morningstar or a mace. Like you kind of want to have like one of every weapon. And you want to have a ranged weapon because you might not be able to melee something all the time. Especially if you run across a flying monster. Actually, in one of my campaigns that I was playing, we came across some eagles, some giant eagles that were fighting us. My character only had a throwing weapon. I took massive negatives for throwing. I only hit 2 out of the 3 times, and that's just because I rolled really well. I think I rolled like a 15 each time, until the last one I missed. But you kind of want to be thinking about what situations will I come across today, so I don't end up just basically being a cheerleader and going, "Go team, woo!" You know. So that's that. So we got our gear. We picked out our skills. So the last thing I want to talk about is alignment and backstory. Now, I'm not going to go too in-depth on alignment because that's like a whole nother video. What I will say about alignment is it's very important depending on what class you play. Like, for example, if you pick a paladin, you must be lawful good, and if you want to be a bard, you must be chaotic. Doesn't matter if you're chaotic good, neutral, or evil. But if you're a paladin, you must be lawful good. And each alignment is, I'll just list them off because they're pretty basic. There's lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, lawful neutral, true neutral, chaotic neutral, which is probably the most popular alignment is chaotic neutral, and then lawful evil, neutral evil, and chaotic evil. And again, without getting too much in depth, it's pretty straightforward when explaining it. If you're lawful, you need to follow the laws to whatever specific city you're in, or if you have a specific creed. So being lawful doesn't necessarily mean you're always lawful to, like, a lawful good character wouldn't be lawful to a lawful evil regime for them. Like, sometimes they would, but it depends. But basically, you're lawful towards the laws. And then, if you're a, what's going on over here? Yeah, I'm playing a rogue and use a rapier because it's only. I'm going off of the 3.5, the real 531. Okay, anyway, let me finish this statement. In 3.5, they do have to be lawful good. So in any case, you have to be lawful to the regime that you're in, that you're following. And then if you're chaotic, you're going against those laws. And then if you're neutral, you're just kind of worrying about yourself. The last thing I want to talk about is backstory. Backstory is very important. It basically determines what your character is going to be like. And if you have a decent backstory, that'll determine your religion and your alignment and all that good stuff. I would recommend making a backstory at least like 1 to 3 paragraphs, but no longer and probably no shorter. And basically what you want is you want a character that has a reason for adventuring. My very first character I made, he was looking for his mentor. He hadn't seen her for about 6 to 7 months, and she abruptly left. So now his reason for exploring is to find her and find out why she left, what's going on. And that's why he was adventuring. Sometimes another good one is looking for, you know, the person that killed your loved ones or whatever. And this helps out the DM too, because now the DM has a reason. Maybe he wants to like make a cool character, but he doesn't know why the character should fight the party. Now he has a reason for the character to fight the party, and your character, your DM will love you, and they should reward you for doing like helping populate his world if they're a decent DM. So that's why I think it's important to have a character. Now, if it's your very first time, I would recommend going with something very simple. I'm looking for the person that killed my wife, and give a short description. He has a scar going across his face, and he's really ugly, you know. So anything to like really give it a script, like something like that's pretty descriptive but relatively simple. So otherwise, your character is just kind of walking around, and he doesn't really have a reason for doing anything. Like if you're just making a rogue and all he wants is money, I mean that's lame. Like what does your DM have to play off of that? Cool, your guy wants money. Everybody wants money, right? Think of a reason for them to explore. Now, I wouldn't say to go over 3 paragraphs, because there's always a chance that your character will get axed on the first day. It can happen. It's happened before. I've seen it happen, and that's always something that you have to worry about. It actually almost happened in my the campaign I'm playing in right now. My friend made a really long backstory, and he literally if he rolled 1 lower on his save, he would have been completely killed, and he spent like all this time making his character. So you really want to be careful when it comes to making a backstory, or just the campaign might not play out that well, and or maybe the DM has a specific vision, and maybe he doesn't want to even really go in depth on your backstory, at least not at that moment. There's a lot of things that could play into it. That's why, 3 paragraphs, that's not really a whole lot of investment, but it gives you something to work with, gives DM something to work with, and you'll end up liking your character a lot more for it. So that's my recommendation, and thanks for watching, everybody. I hope this helps you. And the next video I'm going to make is how to DM better.